VanEck and Grayscale have both filed fresh amendments to their BNB ETF proposals, signaling that both asset managers are actively working to secure regulatory approval for a spot exchange-traded fund tied to Binance's native token. These filings were submitted to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and represent a routine but important step in the ETF approval process. VanEck submitted an amended S-1 registration statement for its proposed BNB trust, while Grayscale filed its own second S-1 amendment for a similar product. Both actions show that the companies are refining their proposals in response to regulatory feedback or evolving market conditions. This kind of activity suggests that the firms believe the regulatory environment is shifting in a way that makes continued pursuit of approval worthwhile. The fact that both major players are moving forward in close succession adds weight to the idea that the BNB ETF narrative is gaining traction in 2026. BNB is one of the largest altcoins by market capitalization, yet it has not received the same level of ETF attention as Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana. The renewed filing activity from VanEck and Grayscale places BNB firmly into the growing altcoin ETF conversation. The SEC has historically accelerated its review process when multiple applications for the most people arrive after the move is obvious and the easy upside is gone. We focus on serious crypto education and high-quality signals before the crowd rushes in, so you can understand the setup earlier and move sooner. If you want that edge, visit the link below now. Same asset are filed by different issuers. This dynamic was clearly visible with the spot Bitcoin ETFs in early 2024, where overlapping proposals from multiple firms led to a faster regulatory timeline. The same pattern could now be emerging with BNB. BNB Chain remains a significant player in the decentralized finance space, offering more than just exchange utility. This broader use case could strengthen the investment thesis for a BNB ETF and support the regulatory argument that the token has a legitimate role in a diversified portfolio. The filings suggest that both VanEck and Grayscale are positioning themselves to be ready when the regulatory window opens. The coordinated timing of the amendments also implies that both firms are operating under a shared sense of optimism regarding the likelihood of approval. While the exact timeline remains uncertain, the fact that these amendments were filed at a similar time suggests that the industry is preparing for a potential shift in the regulatory landscape. The next signal to watch is whether the SEC responds with further feedback or signs of progress on BNB ETF applications. If either VanEck or Grayscale receives a more definitive response from the SEC, it could trigger a broader market reaction. The competition between these two major players could also influence the pace of the regulatory process, as the SEC may be more inclined to provide clarity when multiple firms are actively engaged. The recent amendments are a clear sign that the BNB ETF conversation is moving forward, and the next step will likely involve more direct interaction between the applicants and the SEC. Investors and market participants should keep a close eye on any updates from the SEC, as they could signal a turning point in the regulatory journey for BNB ETFs. The stakes are high, not only for the firms involved, but also for investors seeking exposure to BNB. Most people arrive after the move is obvious and the easy upside is gone. We focus on serious crypto education and high-quality signals before the crowd rushes in, so you can understand the setup earlier and move sooner. If you want that edge, visit the link below now. Through a more traditional financial vehicle, the mechanism of ETF approval involves a series of regulatory hurdles, including the need to demonstrate market integrity, custody solutions, and investor protections. If the SEC begins to show a more favorable stance toward BNB ETFs, it could open the door for broader institutional adoption of the token. The next signal to watch is whether the SEC requests additional information or provides a timeline for decision-making. A more concrete response could either accelerate the process or reveal unresolved concerns. Until then, the amendments from VanEck and Grayscale remain a key indicator that the BNB ETF narrative is gaining momentum.